Hello and welcome back. I know it's been a while, but we're going to do a 2026 Senate prediction. And I'm glad to be back. Make sure to like and subscribe. I want to hit 100K subscribers. And let me know what you think of this prediction in the comments. Make sure to watch to the end because it is very interesting. Because as we can see with Trump's approval rating, he's at a net negative 7% approval rating. And compared to Biden and Obama, this is far worse, but compared to his first term, it is better. And he was at positive approval rating, and then he kind of dipped down. So we do want to see how he's doing with the Senate because the amount of bills he can get passed really relies on who's in the Senate. And right now, Democrats have the lead. More Republican states are up for grabs. But as you can see real quick, Republicans already caught up. And Republicans take the lead with some more states here. A lot of these are safe Republican states that I'm clicking right now. West Virginia used to not be for one of the seats, but now it is for both seats. But look at this. All of these are safe Republican states, bring Republicans up to 47. So while it looks concerning for Republicans at first, they're already at 47 once you account for the safe seats. Unless something crazy happens, it seems like Republicans are going to be doing relatively okay for themselves. But again, if you're a Republican, you want a pretty big majority so that even if there are one or two defectors, Trump's bills still get passed. But if you're a Democrat, you want it to be at least pretty close so that, again, if there are a few moderates who don't agree with the bills, then the bills won't get passed. So either way, you want to be watching till the end to see what happens. And for the Democrats, there's some safe seats for you as well. There's Oregon, there's Massachusetts, there's Rhode Island, there's New Jersey, there's Delaware, there's Illinois. There are some seats for Democrats, and for Republicans, you guys have a lot more safe seats, but still, Democrats have some seats that they can be confident with. And some might say, oh, New Jersey, it's not a safe seat. For example, it did go to Biden by 16, but it went to Harris by just 6. Well, the person who's running in New Jersey is extremely popular. Remember, back in 2024, Menendez wasn't popular and Andy Kim ended up winning. But look, in 2026, it is Cory Booker who is the incumbent, and he is very popular in the state. New Jersey is going to Republicans, and it's going to be 40 to 47 for now. So to get a majority, Republicans just need 3 because they advance in the vice presidency. Again, he can break ties. But Democrats do catch up a little bit with the states of Colorado and New Mexico, both of which Harris won in 2024. And I do think Democrats will perform better in 2026 than they did in 2024. And here's why. For one, Trump's approval rating is low. And also, there's a general trend where during midterm elections, the opposing party of the president does usually win in the Senate or House races more than they did in the general election. And that's because sometimes people see a lot of stuff getting passed, they get a little bit scared, and they want a little bit of a moderating force. And that's why they elect the opposite party in either the Senate or the House. In this case, I do think Republicans will win the Senate, but the question isn't will they win, it's by how many seats they'll win by. Because look, Republicans are even going to win the state of Alaska. That's a state Trump won by 13, and that's a state that the incumbent Dan Sullivan, he's relatively popular. You can see with these polling, most pollsters think that it's pretty solid for Republicans. One thinks it's a tilt, but pretty much everyone thinks it is going to Republicans. Also, the state of Texas. Remember, it was a little scary for Republicans when Ted Cruz was running, but as you can see, John Cornyn, his name is not Ted Cruz, and for that reason, it is going to Republicans. He's relatively popular. Even in the Senate, he's pretty much a power player, and Texans like John Cornyn, so he's going to be elected. And he's a Republican, and Trump won the state by almost 14. Remember when people were saying, oh, Texas, don't be so confident? Well, it did go to Trump by 14, and it did go to Trump against Biden, and it went to Trump against Clinton. It went to Trump 3 times in a row. It's going to go to Republicans once more. However, Democrats are going to win the state of Minnesota. That's a state that was relatively close, but the incumbent Tina Smith is pretty popular. She's going to win, even though one source does think it's a battleground. The more recent sources do think it is more a lean Democrat state, and I think that is relatively accurate. It's going to go to Democrats, bringing them up to 43. Michigan, part of this blue wall that collapsed in 2016 and 2024. is going to go to Democrats in this upcoming election. Remember, when Trump is the incumbent, usually the blue wall goes to Democrats. When Trump's not the incumbent, usually it goes to Republicans. So we can see that Michigan is having Gary Peters, and he is the incumbent. I think the incumbency advantage is going to bring him over the edge. Again, if Republicans run candidates like Tudor Dixon, who lost massively against Gretchen Whitmer, then Michigan will go to the Democrats. So it's going to be 44 to 49 as of now. Also, the state of Virginia will go to Democrats as well. The state of Virginia, unless Glenn Youngkin runs, isn't going to be that close. Mark Warner, he's relatively popular, and the state of Virginia did go to Clinton, did go to Biden, and did go to Harris. So who's going to say that Virginia is going to go to Republicans this time around? Well, definitely not me. If Youngkin runs, this may be a little bit different, but I'm not sure if he's going to run, because if he loses, that almost jeopardizes his chances at 2028, and I think he stands a decent chance at 2028 nomination if Trump falls out of popularity or Vance falls out of popularity. Youngkin is probably the backup option. But now we go to some states that do look promising for Republicans. Not really New Hampshire, but the rest look promising for Republicans. To start, Ohio has John Husted as the incumbent. He is the replacement for Vance. He was the lieutenant governor of Ohio. He's relatively popular, and it's pretty likely that Republicans are going to win, as they did when Vance was running, as they did when Trump was running, etc., so on and so forth. I think that Republicans are winning in Ohio, bringing them to the majority. But the question now, like I said at the beginning, was going to be by how much will the Republicans have a majority? Well, you might say Maine. Well, Maine seems like a Democrat state. Well, yes, it does. It did go to Democrats 3 elections in a row. In fact, more than 3 elections in a row. But in Senate elections, that's not quite the case. They have a moderate Susan Collins as the incumbent. And you can see she is actually leading according to most pollsters. And that's because, again, she is a moderate. So while this doesn't lead to Republican bills being sponsored or endorsed by her all the time, Trump's bills, may I correct myself, Trump's bills being endorsed by her all the time, she is still a Republican, bringing the total up to 51 to 46. And next we have North Carolina, which is a state with an incumbent Republican as well. Even though Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor, maybe dwindled support for Republicans in the state, well, Republicans have still been doing relatively well. For example, Trump won by over 3 percentage points in 2024. I do think it will be slightly closer than that, but Republicans will win in the state yet again. Georgia is an interesting state for Republicans. For example, it went to Trump in 2024 but not in 2016, might I add, not 2020, where it slightly went to Biden. But in the Senate elections, it has incumbent Jon Ossoff, who is relatively popular. He beat an incumbent in 2020 by over a percentage point, and I do think he's going to win once more. Just as a sort of moderating force, because Trump isn't the most popular president right now, Democrats might put up a strong opposition, get a lot of people to the polls and a lot of people voting, and that's why I think Ossoff is going to win the race in Georgia. However, we get to Florida, a state that Trump won by over 3 in 2020 and by over 13 in 2024. Rubio's replacement, Ashley Moody, is the incumbent senator right now, and most pollsters think that it's pretty solid for Republicans. I think so as well, given Trump's win in 2024. This is pretty insane. Look at this. Trump won in almost every county, even counties with cities. Trump did well, and he won some of those as well. So I do think he is going to win in the state of Florida. And that brings Republicans, look at this, up to a total of 53. Right now, Republicans are at 53 as well. So they basically keep a hold in this election, even though they have an incumbent president. So, even though usually it flip-flops, it seems like Republicans are going to keep hold of the Senate and all 53 seats. So, it does seem like Republicans under the leadership of John Thune are doing relatively well in the Senate. So if you want more of these predictions, make sure to like and subscribe. Let your thoughts be known in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching.